Now, this is the news we did not want to hear as Tottenham Hotspur fans. One of the key and important signings of the summer, who I've just done a video on saying how important it'd be for Thomas Frank's Tottenham, is wanted by another club, a potential hijack from our North London rivals. But before I go any further, if you are new to the talkSPORT YouTube channel and you want to see more breaking news stories like this, deep dives and the lot by Tottenham Hotspur, then get down below, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and also leave a like and a comment what you make of this breaking news. Because, as I said, I did a video on how good Eberechi Eze would be as a signing for Tottenham over potentially a Bryan Mbeumo, maybe a Xavi Simons, etc, etc. But news has literally just broken at 4 o'clock as I record this from Ben Jacobs and Alex Crook, both work at talkSPORT where I work, and they've said Arsenal have added Eberechi Eze to their list of left-winger targets. Eze also being considered by Spurs. He has a £68 million release clause in his Palace contract. Rodrygo also remains of interest. Real winger will discuss his future with Xabi Alonso before deciding whether to explore an exit. Real prepared to sell for around €90 million. And this is the news we did not want to hear because, as I say, Tottenham have called their interest in Bryan Mbeumo. They don't really seem keen to sign Anton Semenyo. Basically, what Tottenham have to do now is trigger this release clause ASAP. It's so important that they do this because Tottenham need to make a star signing this summer to really win the fan base over. So far, we've signed Matthias Tell, who was on a loan to become a permanent. We then signed Kevin Danzo, who became a permanent after a loan, and we've signed Takai, the new defender. That's, pretty much going to be announced very soon. And I've argued we need an X-factor signing, a potential player who can play in a multitude of different positions. And for me, that is Eberechi Eze. I feel like he'd be the perfect 10 for Thomas Frank. He'd be good off the wing. He could play deep in a double pivot. He could do whatever he wants. And after a season last year where he won the FA Cup for Crystal Palace after a slow start for him and the team, he is ready for this next move. I've got many friends who are Palace and they sort of agree that maybe he could be sold this summer because he's turning 27 and he's probably looking to get another move. But I did actually argue in a video. I went through all the teams and I said Liverpool probably won't sign someone because like Eze because they've signed Florian Wirtz, Cole Palmer at Chelsea, Cunha at Manchester United, Cherki at City. And I said probably not Arsenal either. But by the looks of it, Arsenal are well in for him. They've just signed, Christian Norgard from Brentford, who Tottenham were interested in as well. So it seems like Tottenham's inactivity in the transfer window is making them pay. And, if Arsenal add in an Eze, who, again, would play in a multitude of similar positions. You could play him deep next to a Rice and an Odegaard. You could play him on the left instead of Martinelli. Link up really well with a potential striker that Arsenal could get. And also on the right wing with Bukayo Saka. So to me, this is just mind-boggling from Spurs that we haven't acted, quicker in the market. It just needed to be a thing that Tottenham had to get done as soon as possible. They need to now go and trigger that release clause because if they definitely do beat us to Eze, Tottenham fans like myself are not going to be happy because it's just letting your rivals and your opposition, get to players that you want. And, if we really want to close the gap on bigger teams in and around the big six, after a poor season last year and missing out players like this, it is really bad. And at the end of the day, we're going into next season no different to Arsenal. We've both got Champions League football. We've both, got as much chance in the cup competitions. Well, maybe us more because we've just won one and they haven't. But I just think it's absolutely crazy. It's crazy that Tottenham are letting Arsenal jump into the race and have a part because we're running out of options for signings this summer. There's not really been many links. And the links that we are, the players that we are being linked to rather, are being snapped up left, right and centre. I already said I think we should have gone for Ryan Cherki, but he ended up going to Manchester City. And Eze could be another player like that. People probably would have wanted Cunha, Gehi. There's lots of players who they're just getting snapped up, and Tottenham aren't acting. And yeah, fair enough. I think Danzo is a good signing. I think Tel is a good signing, and I think Takai has got a lot of potential. But Eze is a ready-made player who can go straight into that lineup and compete with the likes of James Maddison, Dan Kulusevski for similar positions. And you got to think as well. I've saw people in my Eze videos. I say if you haven't watched it, go and watch it after this. Argue that we don't need him, and I feel like that's wrong because we need to give competition to the players I've just mentioned. We need to give competition for them, because if they don't have that, then what's the point? They need to be kept on their toes. Also, they're coming back from injuries. There's no guarantee that they're going to come back straight away and be strong, whereas Eze would come in and really reignite this team. I think he'd have a great link up with Solanke. I think he'd have a great link up with Brennan Johnson. And I think Frank would work wonders with him, just like Oliver Glasner has at Crystal Palace. So, yeah, it's frustrating. It's just really annoying that we're now at this stage where a team like Arsenal could potentially bully us and hijack a deal for a player that we need to get done. We need to do this, because if we don't, we're just going to be a laughing stock again. Other opportunities, you could look at a Morgan Gibbs-White, I guess, but are you going to get him out of Nottingham Forest? I'm not so sure. I said Xavi Simons. I mean, his future's up in the air. It sort of is like, we're wondering, what are Tottenham doing? Like, are they, waiting to July? But is that too, are we sleeping? Are we sleepwalking to another poor transfer window? Because we knew the areas we had to fix. I've mentioned a 6, I mentioned a winger, come 10. But if you're letting teams like Arsenal come in and bully you to these moves, then, even like people will argue that, Arsenal, they're not really doing much. But in a couple of days, Norgaard's been highlighted. There's a defender that they're looking to sign, and Eze potentially has been added to a list. So, yeah, very, very worrying times as always at Tottenham Hotspur. But let me know in the comments down below. Are you frustrated at this? Who is going to win the battle for Eze? Is it going to be our North London rivals and the enemy Arsenal, Woolwich Arsenal, or is it going to be the mighty Spurs? Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. And if you have enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe, hit the notification bell. And until next time, I'll see you guys pretty soon. Ciao.